All right, welcome to episode 19. I'm Paul. Now, it looks like what I'm doing today is pixel art, but what I'm actually doing is talking about iterating and refining. Now, you can see how I've taken these designs here, and I've gone between an early design and a later design. Now, this is found all throughout history. I'm looking at Orphan's benefit from 1934 versus 1941 here. You can see the designs are very similar, but this actually was remade shot by shot. We talk about reboots being something that's more common these days, but even back in the day in the 30s and 40s, when they went from black and white to color, they said, yeah, let's do some reboots. Let's make some more money here. I'm sure there was lots of different reasons for it. Let's look at the design, though. You see the design in 1934. Donald was very simple. He didn't have a tail. The head was just a circle. There wasn't a lot of structure, depth to the beak. The hand was very simple. Same with the feet there. And here, 7 years later, look what we've got. We have a brow ridge. We have clear eye direction. We have some form and function to the beak here. We have really nice lines of action through the arm, through the body. You can see the hand. It's really nicely posed there. You can see these legs. They have overlap. And obviously the colors. I mean, that just adds that much more contrast to it. And this is a fascinating couple of shorts because it was literally done shot by shot, where they went through and they just recreated it for an audience 7 years later who would remember seeing the original one, but now seeing it with a new technology. And yeah, it's just a real treat to go back and watch this the comparison. Now you see with Mickey here, this is interesting because the Mickey, the old Mickey there, he had a ton of appeal already. And it was very circular. Like I heard the story sometimes about they would trace a quarter and 2 dimes for his head and his ears. But look at the structure. Look at the really nice shapes here. The appeal. The hands are really refined. You look at the new one. Yeah, they've closed his eyes. He has the ability to blink more now. There's a bit more emotiveness there. But everything else is, I wouldn't even say it's an improvement. I mean, we've actually lost a little bit of detail on the back of the jacket there. Terrific stuff, though. And just to show, here's some sound. They didn't even make new audio for the 1941. They used the same audio from 1934. And anyone who works in animation knows that that's a lot of the time is coming up with, I mean, they didn't have to come up with storyboards. They didn't have to come up with, obviously they redesigned the characters, but there was already so much done. It was probably relatively cheap to make the new 1941 version because there were so many steps that were already done. So returning back to my iterations here. Now you might look at this and say, what does this have in common? But it has a lot in common. This is about the process. So there's a lot of different ways you can describe it. You could call it working rough. You could call it starting from concept. You could say early designs. But the whole point is you start with broad strokes, you iterate and you refine, and you continue to iterate, add more detail. And you basically keep doing that until you run out of time when you get really granular. Now, this is something that it happens thousands of times throughout the process. This isn't just oh, I came up with the original design, now I iterated that design. It's something where we have to constantly be going and looking at the big picture, going in the detail. Big picture, going in the detail. I had a life drawing teacher, Gideon, one time that called it being in the perfect moment, when you can be looking at the big picture and looking at the detail almost simultaneously. You're vacillating back and forth between them so quickly that it feels like it's happening at the same time. But what you're actually doing is looking big picture small, so you can see how your small changes are affecting the bigger picture. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm doing a lot of flipping. I'm adding in the detail there, refining, changing the shapes of the ears, going in and thinking about, I'm not thinking about in-betweens at all at this point. I'm just thinking about 2 different extreme poses. Hammer behind, hammer in front. And thinking about what are we going to do here. Okay, so I'm going to add some more detail to that, clean that hammer up a little bit, add some more tones and texture there. Thinking about the line of action, thinking about the design, but applying that design to every frame. Every frame that we do is a new design in a way, and it may be using the same structure, but it still requires the same thought process of going from large, okay, I'm just going to see the very big picture here, now I'm going to go look at the detail. And going back and forth is such an important part of the process, and it's something that I think isn't focused on enough. I think a lot of people focus on a lot of other principles even, but the technology more. And to be able to focus on that principle of iterating is just going to help our work be that much stronger. And here's one more iteration where the first frame, you can see where I started out and where I ended up. It started out with the hammer further back, with the tones more refined, and so much stronger. And here's my final version at full speed with all the in-betweens added, obviously. You can see I've voxelized the pixels as well and added a shadow and flash. And this is the result of iterating. It's a fascinating process, and I encourage everyone to work with it. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.